Has this ever happened to you? You're reading Reddit or any other forum post about MCAT tips and tricks, or talking to one of your friends when you realize that somebody tells you that you can go from a 508 to a 521 in just 3 weeks with a few quick strategies. Does it make sense? Is it real? Well, here at MCAT Savior, we'd like to explore this in a little bit of detail because posts like this and experiences are really, really common, but they can be misleading for the average MCAT test taker. Now, at the end of the day, a jump from 508 to 521 is not impossible. This can happen for some students in some cases, but here's the thing. Anytime you get advice, recommendations, or any type of format in terms of strategy or skills from anyone who is sitting in the 90th percentile or above, you have to consider for a quick second that, hey, this person is already in the top 10% of all test takers, period. And the reason why this is important to know is because a lot of individuals can be in this bracket not because of their own hard work and effort, even though they might have really worked hard, but also because they just might be naturally more intelligent than the average MCAT test taker. This really sucks to hear, but at the end of the day, we know that intelligence varies, and some people are just naturally better at the MCAT than others. For example, let's take students who are really, really good at reading comprehension. Some high schoolers who do exceptionally well on SAT and ACT can actually score really high in the car section without any practice, sometimes even higher than the average scoring student who's been studying for a while. And this can be super frustrating. But it is a clear trend that many students, especially those that are in this bracket or higher, typically have some combination of natural intelligence, which combines with their hard work ethic and general study plan to produce results that seem fairly insane. Now, the reason why it's good to know who you're getting your advice from and why is because if you're an average student, using the methods that they use to increase their score might not work for you. It worked in their case because they have certain skills and abilities innately that you may not have. Here at MCAT Savior, most of our writing and teaching team got relatively high scores on the MCAT, but after hundreds, if not thousands of hours of studying. So we know what it's like to be an average student and try to score high on this exam, which is why we try to put so much effort into a lot of the content and the skills work that we try to bring to everybody. So if you're an average student and you're watching this and you're thinking, well, these type of score jumps are probably unlikely for me. Well, the next step is, well, what can I do to increase my score in a consistent, obtainable manner? The first thing that we would say is that to realize in sections 1, 3, and 4, content knowledge is actually 80% of your scoring potential. Now, automatically having that content knowledge won't guarantee that you get a certain score, but it does open up the potential for you to score that high if properly applied. And that's the next step is, well, how do we apply the content? That would be test taking strategy. And it's as true for sections 1, 3, and 4 as it is for cars. So both when it comes to learning the material and applying the material, we actually have a lot of free courses that help with both of those things. So it's definitely something that's good to check out. Although remember, if you want to increase your score, test-taking strategy looks very fancy and it seems like a very quick trick to help improve your points, but it can only improve your score if your content is really high, which is why many students who are sitting at a certain score range for a while might find a certain strategy trick or a group of strategy skills that when applied help them jump up their score in sections 1, 3, and 4. And it's pretty much just because they had a really high content level to start with and they were just unlocking their potential. A third thing that's very important to mention is that cars is not impossible to study for. Many students often feel that you either get it or you don't, and you do a bunch of practice and it either works out or it doesn't. We don't believe that's the case. We think there is a systematic way that even an average student can study to maximize their car score and get as high as possible, and in some cases even compete with the really high scores and get into the 129 to 132 range. We have a ton of cars material on our website and a ton of free material as well, so go ahead and check all of that out if you'd like to. The last thing isn't necessarily MCAT test taking related, but students have to remember that the MCAT is just one part of the entire application process. The entire process is pretty lengthy, and there's a lot of things that average students can do to maximize their chance of getting into medical school, because at the end of the day, the only reason why you're writing the MCAT is probably because you want to go to medical school. So remember, we actually have an entire free general admissions strategy course, and students can go through that at their leisure. So the takeaway that we want students to have from this is that there are different ways that average students should approach the exam compared to people who are already innately talented or maybe are having higher scores than usual. It can seem rough to make that distinction for many individuals, but by embracing that distinction, it actually allows us to study differently, which gives us better results in the long run. Because remember, you don't have to score a perfect exam to get into medical school. You just need a reasonable score that fits the schools and the criteria that you're looking for. So we hope this information helps, and feel free to check out the rest of our resources as well. Alright, that was a complicated lesson. If you still need help, check out our full-length blog post that we linked in the video description, explore more of our YouTube channel, or just head on over to mcatsavior.com where you can get all of our strategy courses for free.